Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Whoa, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
Hello and welcome to It's Only a Game. In a week where we had the Grand National and the World Snooker Championship, Arsenal might fall at the final furlong with more unfortunate 2-2s than Dak's wardrobe, while City keep hitting clean breaks to keep their charge up. Unai Emery's taken Villa from being the back of the pack to being in the European places by a nose. Meanwhile, Julio and Enciso provided a photo-esque finish to pocket the Blues at Stamford Bridge. It's less 1-4-7 and more 1-6, as Liverpool want to talk about 6 again. But will the Premier League resemble an unwalked dog again next year with no leads? The Palace are gleaming ahead of the King's coronation. Hodgson's return has got fans in the bottom half protesting to stop Royal. I couldn't think of anything funnier than that. The snookered Saints are left praying for a miracle. Bournemouth and Wolves pick up 3 points that could prove crucial at the end of the season. On the continent, Barca draw but still have a cushion at the top of La Liga in the title race. But there's bigger issues afoot, as shots fired by Real Madrid, both on the pitch at Cadiz and on their social media. Nobody wants a Champions League place in Serie A, with Juventus, Inter and Milan all dropping needless points. Napoli can't quite make the championship with their owner, but they're on the home straight. Capital performances from Roma and Lazio keep them with a chance of a chair at the top table next season. PSG win a top 2 clash, and Dortmund will always be Dortmund. Some things are just odds on to happen. Tonight, we're joined by Dak, by Greg, and our special guest, Stephen End. Hello everyone.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Jimmy.
Hi Jim, you okay? Hi Stephen, hi Dak, you okay lads?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. How's the week treating you?
Tranmere have just scored against Rochdale, and if they win and results go against us, we're relegated to the conference for the first time in 102 years. So things could be better.
If you'd any incentive to keep listening, dear listener, it's you might listen to the live reaction of Rochdale getting relegated to non-league. I mean, this is
the first time ever.
Witnessing history right here. It's like when the moon landed. It's exactly the same.
Pretty much.
Exactly the same.
When the goal landed. There you go.
We are joined indeed by Stephen. Stephen, you're an Ipswich fan. I'm sure you've got no complaints this season. Currently got the best goal difference of anyone in the top 4 divisions. How have you found Ipswich this season so far?
Yeah, I mean, we're currently playing tonight against Port Vale. It's 0-0 after 25 minutes. So, but all the other teams in and around us are drawing 0-0 at the moment. So it's a bit of sort of bite your fingernails time, squeaky bum time as well. So, the only team who's winning at the moment in the top 6 are Peterborough away at Accrington Stanley. So yeah, it could be an interesting and long evening myself looking at my phone while I'm doing this as well. So we're ticking along nicely. We've got a few different goal scorers sort of chipping in, something that we haven't had for the last few seasons. Connor Chaplin scored 22 goals so far this season, Freddie Ladapo as well. So can't really ask for more than that. Last year it was Wes Burns sort of just chipping in from midfield and trying to be the new Gareth Bale after his Welsh exploits. We're doing well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can see a new derby for us next year. Instead of playing Cambridge, it'll be a Norwich City derby, and hopefully a derby that we can actually win for a change instead of losing. So yeah, all things good here so far.
Nah, good stuff. You've also got Nathan Broadhead at yours now, haven't you? I think as an Evertonian, I'm fully expecting to go to Portman Road in the league next season, given your predicament and ours. Have you found him?
Yeah, he's fitted in nicely. A bit of a snip really at about £1 million, I think. So yeah, he's coming in January. 4 or 5 goals and fitted in nicely. He seems a sort of typical Ipswich player really, and give him 2 or 3 seasons and that, who knows where the club will be. I mean, 29,000 there on Saturday. You can't really ask for more than that in the League One. So, I think we're going to be thinking about extending the ground soon as well, and sort of upgrading it a little bit. It's a little bit 1980s-ish still. Sort of the stadium hasn't really changed since I first started going back in the mid 80s. So, could do with a little bit of a facelift, but yeah. We shall see. I think it'll be a good signing and a good asset.
Fantastic. You mentioned as well about when you started going back in the 80s to Portman Road. And I just wanted to really ask, obviously, you collect a lot of vintage football programmes. I'm guessing that started from when you first started going to Ipswich. I mean, what sort of got you into the programme sort of collection sort of habit? And have you got programs that you've had since childhood that you've kept hold of, or are they all ones that you've kind of got hold of at a later date, if you will?
Well, I first started getting programs when I was about 7 or 8 years old, so probably about 40 years ago, because I'm nearly 50, so showing me age now, but never mind. My dad used to work with a Norwich City supporter, and he just sort of brought a few programs home one day, and he said, these are from one of my friends called Michael. So so I got a sort of bunch of programs, some England, and then it just sort of went from there, and Ipswich and Norwich, and he gave me a few. I mean, his house and his spare rooms and that were absolutely cluttered. It was a health risk. His house was a health risk as full of football memorabilia. So just from then onwards, I've always been collecting it and just sort of adding to my collection. My mum and dad's house hold quite a lot of my old better programmes up in their loft, and their loft is quite bowed now through the weight of all the football programmes and memorabilia that's around there. So I used to have a good run, probably about 50 or 60 years worth of cup final programmes.
Wow.
But just collected memorabilia in general really, and in the book there's a little section, a diary of a memorabilia collector, and that is myself, just collecting bits and pieces. So also collect lots of sort of trade cards as well, like the match attacks and the paninis and all that sort of thing, just like every general person in their late 40s and 50s, and still a Peter Pan really, and never grown up and spend loads of money on it, but don't tell the wife.
Oh, I'm sure she won't be listening, and if she is, well, we'll edit that out. We'll edit that out. Now, on the memorabilia side, what would you say is like your favourite pieces? Anything particularly memorable from like a particularly massive, whether it could be an Ipswich game or a major cup final, or anything at all that you has got real? I mean, I'm sure there's a few things that have got real nostalgic value, real sentimental value. But if there's anything particular that stands out as being like, if you had to like save one thing, if the worst was to happen, anything really amazing.
Yeah, I've probably got a couple. First one, I won it in a raffle when it was Ipswich's 100th season back in 1987, I think it was, and it was a John Walk shirt when he played for Ipswich in that particular season. So it's got the 100th season, centenary season crest on the, and they were sponsored back by Fison's, which is a horticultural. They did sell like manures and stuff in Ipswich back in the day, lawn mowers and all that kind of stuff. So got a shirt, and about 5 or 10 years after that, I went to an evening with him, and he signed it for me. So I've got it signed as well. And the other big bit of memorabilia I've got, and it is large as well. It was and there was an evening with Sir Bobby Robson in Norwich as well, so that was quite interesting, being an Ipswich supporter going to Norwich to actually do it. And it was in Waterstones. In the morning I went into Waterstones and I said, can I have the cutout that is sitting in your window? So there's a big cutout of Sir Bobby Robson made out of cardboard.
That's fantastic.
And I went to the signing evening and he done about a 2-foot signature across this big placard. So you can imagine me walking from the middle of Waterstones in the middle of Norwich all the way down to the train station and then getting on the train and taking it on the
Cardboard
train
cutout
going
of Bobby
home.
Robson.
Yeah. So that is
I can
around
imagine.
my mum and dad's as well. And
That's-
I've never had it valued, but I would imagine it would be worth quite a lot of money now.
That would be worth
Absolutely.
an awful lot. And I must say, if you ever want to have a cardboard cutout of an Ipswich manager in Norwich, I think Bobby Robson's probably one of the very few you might get a lot of respect from people in Norwich, admittedly. That's fantastic. Oh,
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be
That's
Paul
amazing.
Lambert anyway.
no, definitely not Paul Lambert. Any chance
And
of
Stephen, in terms of
Go
so
on.
obviously they're like your two kind of prized possessions. What would you say your most kind of random piece of memorabilia would be? So that there's an ongoing joke here in our kind of WhatsApp group. We had an old physio, Les Parry, have a pair of his shorts upstairs. He was well known for wearing shorts all the time, and a few real like random pieces of Tranmere memorabilia. So what would be your most kind of random thing that maybe doesn't hold any kind of financial value, but something that's a little bit out there?
It's a tricky one. I found, I suppose it was probably at a car boot sale. I think I found like a 1982 pencil sharpener from the World Cup in Spain that was on like a globe. Yeah, just random.
That's
I wasn't
fantastic.
expecting that.
That's
I'll be
amazing.
totally honest.
That's probably worth some
brilliant.
money as
That's
well.
brilliant.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say it
Never
probably
had it
is.
valued.
Yeah.
sharpness? That's fantastic.
Wow. That's brilliant.
Does it still work?
I don't know where it is now.
Ah, need to get a pencil and see if we get to sharpen it. But that's class.
Yeah.
Oh no! And is there anything on that with the random? Is there anything you've got from like the far flung corners of the world when you've gone on your travels, or anything like you've got from like a really like obscure kind of football backwater, Norwich aside?
No, I never really. I've only been abroad on my honeymoon, to be honest. So I didn't really think that would be advisable to cart my missus to a football match on my honeymoon. But we did go to Barcelona, so I was a bit gutted I didn't go there. But
Still,
yeah. I suppose Scotland. Been to Scotland a couple of times going to football, but Stenhousemuir,
cool.
yeah, Falkirk.
Jimmy's
I'm well up on that. That's
Jimmy's
amazing.
got a Scottish football kit on now, haven't you?
I've got a Gretna shirt on. I tweeted it on the podcast Twitter account. The old Gretna FC, formerly of the Scottish Cup final / Scottish Premier League fame before going bust. Yeah, it's probably one of those random things I've got personally. I went to a game.
Was it?
Went to a game up there in 2006-07 season. They beat Ross County 4-1, which is weird to think now. Gretna going bust and Ross County haven't won the Scottish Cup, I think, since then in the Scottish Premier. So, very weird twist of fate as to how those two clubs have fortuned since then. But yeah, no, that's Stenhousemuir. One of those
Yeah, I mean
classic,
the
classic
the
Scottish
Scottish
League names.
Yeah, the Scottish thing is just like crazy because we were up on holiday and we went to one of my friend's wedding up there and we sort of combined a week up there. So we went to Stenhousemuir and we went to Falkirk. And the Falkirk game was the strangest game of football I've ever been to. It was like early August in like one of these Scottish League games. And it was... You turn up, you don't buy a ticket, you just turn up there, you just sort of wander along, go to the club shop, which is incorporating the ticket office as well. And you said, can I have a ticket for tonight's game? So the guy goes, oh yeah, that'll be a tenner. So I said, and he goes, who are you supporting? So I went, oh well, Falkirk. So he goes, okay, come follow me. He said, go up here, turn left, and then you can go into hospitality. So we went into hospitality. This is for a tenner. Hospitality. And he said, when you're finished eating and having a drink, turn left when you go out of there again. So we turned left and we were 2 feet away from the director's box, dead on the halfway line for a tenner. And he said, oh, you can come in at half time and at the end of the game. So the game, not the best of games to start off with. 89th minute, 3-2 down, Falkirk. Then they score an equaliser to make it 3-3. Then I think the game either ends up 5-3 or 5-4, and the guy from the other team scores all 5 goals, and one's a volley from the halfway line. And it is one of the best entertainment games I've ever been to in my life for a tenner, with the missus as well. So I dragged her along, so that's good.
That's really good for a tenner. I'm surprised your missus didn't get into football after watching that. That's amazing.
And it's safe to say I've spent a lot more than a tenner and not been entertained anywhere near as much as that.
Not even.
I can vouch for that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that on my side.
40 or 50 quid a ticket in the Premier League to watch your team lose 1-0. Just nah. That's it. There's a lot to be said for going to watch that level of game. 5 or 10 for a game, very entertaining. Absolutely fantastic. So, it says here you've got a book out. It's about football and, well, it's called Footy for Brains. Would you like to just describe more about what the book's about and what it aims to sort of achieve and what it aims to explore?
Yeah, it's a quiz book. I wrote it mainly in lockdown and a little bit beforehand. My nan passed away with dementia probably about 20 years ago, and during lockdown as well, my wife's nan passed away with dementia and Alzheimer's, and she had a granddad who passed away with that as well a few years prior. So it was close to both of our hearts, and yeah, I decided to write something in lockdown, good for your mental health and well-being and all that. So yeah, just started compiling a few quiz questions, and yeah, a few little articles in there that I'd written as well. 740 questions later, I thought, yeah, I better stop now because it's getting a bit expensive when I try and print it. Yeah, so about 100 pages. First 25 pages are sort of articles and little bits and pieces. Yeah, I sort of teamed up with a charity called the Scores Project that are based at the University of East Anglia. Contacted one of the guys there and they said, yeah, well, if you want to donate some money from each book that you sell, we'll obviously happily accept it. So they've been running the project for about 2 or 3 years now at least, and they were testing a lot of ex-Premier League players who had retired, so probably in their sort of mid-40s, early 50s. Norwich players, they had about, like I say, a couple of hundred players that had gone through all the tests, doing cognitive tests and testing how quickly the things they could move about, just objects, and put them back in the same place. Square pegs through round holes, that kind of thing, like when you're a kid, that kind of thing, when you're testing, see how you are in that. So yeah, that's basically the book. Yeah, lots of just sort of fun questions in there as well. Yeah, I mean, I've done several other podcasts as well, talking about the dementia cause and different things as well. So yeah, and it's just available on eBay at the moment as well, and it's in Waterstones as well locally, and a few other bookshops around the country as well.
I've got a quick question actually, Stephen. In terms of, obviously, when you publish these books and you see them in WH Smith's and you see them in different shops, how satisfying is that in terms of your creation, your time and effort obviously has gone into all these articles and the questions and the editing and the proofreading? It's got to be quite rewarding at the end of that, hasn't it? I would think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it took a little while to put it together, and then, proofreading. My missus done the proofreading. She actually came up with the name of the book as well, so I'm mighty thankful to her as well for it. Yeah, it's quite strange because I went into Waterstones probably about a month ago, and they just reordered some more copies of my book as well. And then the next time I went in there, it was just after when Gary Lineker was having all his problems with on Match of the Day, and my book just happened to be next door to Match of the Day, written by Gary Lineker, on the top shelf in Waterstones in my local shop. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to get a photograph of that, tweet that, and I think it had about 5,000-6,000 views, which is quite entertaining at the time. So yeah. So My first book, what I wrote as well, that came out about 25 years ago, and that was a bestseller in a bookshop called Gerald's in Norwich of all places, over the Christmas period one year, and it got to number 2 in the charts that particular year. So that was quite pleasing as well.
Yeah, it's something, because it's something I've always wanted to do in terms of articles or different things like that, and it's just, I can imagine it being just such a personal goal or something like that, but I can't imagine how you feel. It's brilliant, really, in terms of, like you say, next to Gary Lineker and other football names and authors and things like that. Unbelievable, brilliant stuff. I don't know if you've got any questions, Jim and Dak, or anything there.
Yeah, no, I just think it's a very worthy cause, and obviously it touches a lot of people's hearts in different ways, and to kind of bring something so positive from something that's, can be so emotional and so heartbreaking for people. I think we've all kind of been touched to certain diseases and so on that impact us all at some stage in our lives, and dementia is definitely one of them. There's obviously a lot going on at the minute in terms of, I think we've touched on this lately, in terms of rule changes and so on in the children's game with heading the ball and so on, and different kind of levels of protection now for the professionals. But it's just a really, really good, obviously you've benefited from it in terms of something to do during lockdown and the pride of getting your work out there and published. But just fantastic to be able to combine the two of them. I know that I think Greg has got the current copy of the book that you sent, so he's kind of shared a couple of pages with us this evening so we could get a little bit of context. Not in terms of a Jack and Ori bedtime story, unfortunately, but we play our cards right. He might send something out to our listeners. But no, we'll make sure as well, obviously, when this episode goes live, that we'll make sure that obviously links to your eBay page and to, if it's on the Waterstones website and so on, will be shared as well, and hopefully I can boost sales a little bit as well. But yeah, just a fantastic kind of idea as well, and to have more in there than just the quiz as well, it kind of appeals to quite a wide audience. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the copy when Greg's finished.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with it at the moment, it's so in the news really. Like the Lionesses last week when they played their game against Australia, they had some shirts with the names taken off the back of the shirts, and that was all done for Alzheimer's and dementia as well. And I mean, as well, even tonight on my Twitter page tonight, there was an Ipswich player who's sadly got Alzheimer's at the moment, Trevor Winemark, who played back in the sort of late 70s, early 80s for Ipswich, about 260 games. And his son's just putting out like a Just Giving page just to try and get some more support, because the PFA and the Football Association just aren't doing enough really at the moment. I've been in contact with so many people in relation to it. Nobby Styles' son, John Styles, as well a few weeks ago. He's sort of got a copy of the book as well, which is good as well. Just so many people that have read it and hopefully enjoy it and will enjoy it further as well, and other people pick it up and read it as well. I think it's going to be something that just escalates. People who are playing now might not even know that they've got it for another 20 or 30 years, and even players that played 20 or 30 years ago, they're not going to know probably for a few more years that they've got it. But players who played in the 60s and 70s, it's all coming to the forefront now.
No, I think it is such a huge thing to tackle, and I think as well, if it's okay with Greg and Dak, we'll share the Just Giving page as well that you've mentioned regarding the former Ipswich player. I think yeah, alongside, quite a well-known foundation, the Jeff Astle Foundation, from West Brom centre forward, who obviously passed away as well with dementia. I think it's such a big thing that doesn't get, it's starting to get looked into more, obviously with head injury protocols and things that have come into the game more recently, and but I still think compared to other injuries and compared to other parts of football and sport in general, it is something that is still not as taken as maybe as seriously, and we know less about, like you say, because there are so many current athletes that won't know for maybe a few more years, and so many ex-players and stuff that won't necessarily, know, or they're only just realising. But I just wanted to ask as well, I don't suppose you'd know how to answer this question really, but have you found with the book as well, I don't know if you've had any feedback from people that might be suffering with dementia, that they find the sort of stories and the quizzes and the questions sort of help them tap into like that sort of memory that they do have, of because you can find, not to sound insensitive, but people with that can sometimes remember something from their past when and it really brings them back to something that they can latch on to. Have you found that your book has helped support people in that sort of way as well?
I know that there's local sporting memories groups that have been set up. There's one set up quite close, Lowestoft. I know that they had Terry Butcher come down, obviously being a local Ipswich player and that as well. And up in the northeast, they've been doing stuff at Middlesbrough quite a lot by taking replicas of the FA Cup around and going into care homes and taking old programmes and just trying to getting people to look at the pictures and different things. It hasn't, some of the adverts in the programmes, not necessarily even relating to football, going back to sort of the 60s and 70s of like, you see an old car and, an old bottle of beer on there with a famous make or something. It just triggers something off, and then you might get, an astounding comment from someone who's totally suffering from dementia and doesn't say a lot for the majority of the day. It's just amazing what can be done. And so I mean that the book there as well it covers all aspects. It's for sort of the young and the old as well. So if you said there's something in there from the 70s or the 80s, you could give it to your dad or even your granddad, and they'd probably know a few of the answers, and even some of the people in there as well. So just mentioning people's names, it'll spare a trigger off.
No, definitely sounds absolutely brilliant, and I think, Greg, if we've got Stephen's permission, we could maybe use some questions from the book for our podcast quizzes. Obviously, maybe not tonight, because Stephen, you'll know the answers, seeing as you wrote the literal book. But I think it's a genuinely absolutely amazing thing you've done. I think it's helping so many people and raising awareness to so many people of something that we need to tackle on, more and more. So I think it's absolutely brilliant. Are there any other ideas you maybe got for looking ahead now? Obviously, you've had this book out. You had your book out, was it 25 years ago as well? Is there anything, what does the future hold for Stephen End in terms of any books or any other projects that you want to work on in the future?
Me and someone else who I met doing a podcast, we're actually hopefully going to start up doing a radio program, a sports football program in the northeast, and we should be doing a pilot for it in about another 6 weeks' time. So that's going to be interesting. So who knows? I think it's going to have mental health aspect to it, dementia aspect to it as well each week. Lots of different people have written different books and stuff are gonna said that they'll come on and be guests on the show as well. So could be interesting. And if any of you guys want to come on in the future, I'll obviously have you on there and that as well. So anything to talk
Absolutely.
about football, it'd be good.
Oh, we'll talk about football all day, lads. when we do, admittedly as well, on our chats when we can. We're always talking about it on some level, even if we're just like annoyed with it because our teams are all rubbish. But that's always the way, isn't it? But no, absolutely, of course, definitely.
I've
Go on, Greg.
I've just got a quick question again for Stephen. There's something I noticed in the book that you mentioned about a few football clubs have decided to go digital with football programs. I think that was something that was mentioned. Do you think that might be something that could happen to football programs in the future? I do hope not, because I've got a few good ones with Rochdale and different teams I've been to see, and the nostalgia kicks in for me when I've got some from a good game from years ago with my dad and my mum, and when we used to take my granddad. So I like to have them as like an item in. I've got them in the upstairs actually, a few of them. But do you think we could be closer to seeing them go digital, or do you think they've still got life in the printable programmes?
I think, yeah, I mean, lockdown, obviously, when the games weren't, or the fans weren't attending the games, the programmes obviously became a bit more obsolete then. So a lot of the clubs decided to go digital online then. And some of the non-league sides have probably stayed online and just done them digitalised since then, because obviously printing costs, depending on how many fans they get through the gates and that, they might only have a couple of hundred through there, so they might sell 50 programmes. But at the end of the day, it's all revenue to a club. So, but it's like, take Ipswich this season. I mean, the average gate's probably 25,000. They might sell, I don't know, 1 in 5 might buy a programme. I don't know whether it might even be higher than that, but yeah, I mean, it's probably still quite a good revenue for the club, and obviously it gives someone a job there producing it and writing the articles there as well. So yeah, hopefully it won't fade, but if it does and it stops totally, then the people who have got programmes, the programmes are only going to become rarer because there's going to be less of them and they're not getting out into the market.
Yeah, I think recently Tranmere put a survey out to the fans regarding that, basically asking, how often you buy them, if you don't buy them, the reasons why, and so on. And some of the comments that kind of led on it were quite interesting about the impact of kind of social media and how and our phones, and just how technology's evolved, really, that even myself, up until say 7 or 8 seasons ago, at half time you'd be there flicking through the programme, or you'd be looking at stats, seeing who stored what. And now, and I know I'm as guilty as anything, your phone's out and within 2 seconds you can see what their centre halves have for breakfast 9 times out of 10. It's that kind of level of it. Online's constantly updated and the programmes are almost outdated by the time that they're printed, but definitely that like nostalgic and that kind of memorabilia side is, for me, really important. It's as integral as a cup of Bovril or whatever else people buy at the match, that there's always that thing of a programme. So hopefully, if the clubs do offer a digital copy for people to have, that they'll continue to print. And as you say, there's obviously a revenue there for them in order to do that, and it allows yourself as well to continue to collect.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think on that, go on, Stephen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like I agree. It's true. I mean, it'd be sad to see them go. It's some larger clubs have made the decision not to produce them anymore, and also as well, if you're a collector and you need that program, or there's one program that you haven't got from a certain seasons, getting them and buying them through the post these days. Postage costs are absolutely astronomical these days. Just to to send my book through the post costs £1.85p second class. I mean, that's quite a chunk, really, when you're saying to people, can you afford that on top of the postage and top of the costs? You've got to take that into consideration. It's not cheap anymore these days.
It would be a shame to see, because it's sort of like a ritual, really, for me, in terms of, like, it is for certain games. Obviously, I might not get one every week, but especially when we were in League One and we were playing like Sunderland and Bolton and different teams like that. Oh, and Ipswich, obviously, a few seasons ago. We were in League One. But yeah, it's almost like a ritual that could die off in terms of the match day experience. For me, myself, I would say anyway. Obviously, you meet your friends or your family before you get there, or you go for a drink, or you go for a pie and peas and things like that. I would incorporate buying the programme is part of the match day experience for me. Not quite an experience, but the ritual of it, really. It would be sad to see it go, but hopefully it's still around for a few more years, I would say. Something else that I mentioned, I sort of spotted in the book as well, that you mentioned about car boots as well, in terms of being able to find different things in terms of programmes and things like that. Is there still quite a few items that you can find in the car boots for football memorabilia, or is it mostly on eBay, or is it?
Yeah, I used to go around the car boot sales locally where I was up until a few years ago, and then obviously with lockdown and that sort of killed it a bit. I don't tend to go so much now, and I tend to be a bit more picky and choosy when I'm going around just looking for different bits and pieces. Everyone's looking for the 1978 Panini stickers and different things, and in a carrier bag if you're lucky. But it's probably one in a 1,000 that you're going to find that going round. But yeah, I think the closest I ever came to that was getting a £5 or a £10 bag of programs what were from the 1950s, and I got a bit lucky. So yeah, but yeah, I mean that doesn't happen very often.
Nice. What was the 1950s programs like? They must have been like when you think about advertising back then, what they would have advertised compared to like now. You've had adverts for cigarettes and stuff, and that must have been like fascinating.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the adverts and different things in there are just crazy. I mean, even if you pick up like a 1970 or an 80 Ingham program, you'd see cigarettes being advertised. I mean, you wouldn't even see it today. It'd be betting or gambling, wouldn't it? I suppose, but that's going to be phased out soon on the shirts as well. So yeah, they're cutting out on that as well. So.
Betting sponsors going, isn't it? You've just triggered a memory. You made me dad got a program a few months ago now. His first ever game was I think Everton Chelsea in 1967, and he had the program when he was a kid, and he showed it us, and I was amazed at just the print, the everything, the adverts. Obviously, look at the old names. You have the likes of Alan Ball in there and Brian LeBone, and I can't remember some big names on the Chelsea side as well. And it was just fascinating to look back into that and to go back into that world and imagine what it would have been like to immerse yourself in that time where, you weren't around, but it was just amazing to see what it would have been like, and then the importance of a match day program back then, where even now I see it at games where people will get the squad list in the back and they'll tick off sort of the names of who's starting, and then if someone scored a goal, they'll put a little marker next to that player's name, and it's very much an older generation thing, I think. But I think there's a real romance about that with match day programs. I find that people still do use them as a way of interacting with the game rather than being just a passive spectator. So I think the old programs are absolutely something else. They are amazing to have a look at and go through.
Yeah, and I think sometimes just sticking with programs, and you're talking about like autographs. Sometimes you get the autographs on the programs. I've got a few from when now we're a bit younger watching Rochdale, so I think I've got like Paddy McCourt and Kevin Townsend, Lee Machiavelli, a few others, Gary Jones possibly. But I'm sure me and Jimmy have got a friend who's a Boston United fan, and I think he knows somebody that's got a... Did Paul Gascoigne play for Boston at one point? I think his friend was.
Yeah, he was. I think he was manager for a short period of time.
I'm sure he's. Yeah. That was it. Crikey, could you imagine that? That's going to be... Wow, at the back end of his career as well. Yeah. But I'm sure me and Jimmy's one of our mutual friends, Jason Ellery, I'm sure he's got a friend who has a Boston programme with Gaz's signature on. So there's going to be things like that, isn't there, that in the future... well, not in the future, there still is, obviously. But things like that you can come across. I imagine, wow.
Alright, so I believe, Stephen, you have got some questions based on our teams, I believe. Is that true?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Do you want me to do sort of? I can do 5 each for you, something like that. Is that all right?
Sounds good. Sounds perfect.
That's fantastic. Absolutely.
Okay.
Fantastic. I've got two for ladies.
This is where I show myself up to be the fraud I am. I'll go first. Oh, go on, Greg.
Sorry, go on, Jim.
No, Greg. I'll be Curtis. You go first.
Super. I'll go first. I mean, hopefully I could get a few.
Right. Okay. I actually wrote 10 questions, so you've got a choice between 1 to 10. I can do them, so you can pick them at random between 1 and 10.
Ooh. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Where did Rochdale finish in the 2021-22 season?
2021-2022 season. That was last season. Good question. I think we were 16th. I think.
I'll be generous. I'll give you a place either way. There you go. But you're still wrong.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
18th.
right, yeah. It was worse than I imagined. I knew it were bad, but I've got 16 in my brain, but fair enough. Yeah, fair, yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Right. The second question. Rochdale played how many seasons in the Football League's bottom tier of football from 1974 until in the 2000s? There you go. So it's
Yeah.
either 34 seasons, 35 seasons, or 36 seasons.
I think it's... Could you repeat the answers again, please? Sorry.
So it's 34, 35, or 36.
It's 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 36.
Yeah.
Long
36,
time.
The
yeah.
Rochdale division won it.
They called
Yeah.
it the Rochdale Division. Yeah,
Yeah.
they used to call it the Rochdale Division. I don't know if they still do.
Yeah, so
They won't
the
next
next
season.
question is, which team did Rochdale lose to in the Football League Cup final in 1962?
That would have been Norwich City. And that would have been at the time where there was, I think it was a two-legged final. I think they had the first match at Carrow Road. I think, is it Carrow Road, Norwich? Carrow Road? Yeah, I think. They had the first leg at Norwich and the second leg at Rochdale. My granddad went to that game, my granddad Jim. He really, I think he must have been in his 40s, but yeah, he remembers going to that game. I think we got battered that game, on aggregate anyway. I think it was 6-1 or something similar to that.
Yeah, my local rival's Norwich City. Yeah, that's the correct answer. Okay, so the next question is, which record did Ian Henderson break on the 8th of November 2022 against Salford?
Salford. So he was the Rochdale all-time record goal scorer.
That's correct. Do you know who?
Yeah.
Now,
who
Stephen,
broke?
Greg played that down and like he had to think about it. There's video footage of Greg knee sliding across his kitchen floor, bollock naked
Yes.
when that happened.
Yeah, he's one of my favourites, Ian Henderson. I think he played for Norwich early in his career. I think he came through the ranks at Norwich City. I could be wrong. We're going to have to check that one out. We're going to have to check that one out.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he played for Norwich.
Yeah.
Played about
He's,
60 odd games, I think.
I thought he did. I thought he had a stint in the Premier League early on, but I'm not too sure. I think he had a few games in the Premier League. I'm going to have to check who that were for, but only a few, like a handful, pretty much a handful. I'll have to check.
Yeah, I think he played about 3 or 4 games in the Premier League.
Crikey. Would that have been for Norwich?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, blimey.
And your last question is, Luke Matheson signed for which Premier League side in January 2020 for a record £1 million fee?
It would have been Wolves. Yeah, it would have been Wolves. We didn't have him for long, Luke. He scored a bit of a belter, really, against Man United in the League Cup at Old Trafford, and that catapulted him to some sort of stardom at one point. Anyway, I'm not too sure where he is at the moment, but he did play for Ipswich at one point. I think he was on loan from Wolves, but I think I lost touch with where he was. I think, did he end up in Scotland as well? Yeah.
I think he played a couple of games on loan for Ipswich about 2 or 3 seasons ago, and then he had a stint up in Scotland for a season, but I'm not sure, like yourselves, where he is now. But
yeah, he's still relatively young, which is surprising. I'm gonna have to Google how old he is. Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Superb.
scored a grand total of 4 out of 5 there.
No, I'll take that. Because some of them, you never know, do you?
That's not
You never
bad.
know.
That's not
I'll
bad.
take that. We'll have to do a little
Context.
tally at the end.
Right.
Apologies for context.
Who
Luke
wants to
Matheson
go?
still contracted to Wolves. His last loan. I'll go next if you want. His last loan was at Scunthorpe, which I know we've mentioned before about their plight.
Yes.
So
Because
he's still a Wolves
that would
player,
have
though.
been. Oh, is he?
Still under contract at Wolves, so he might be in the development team or something. But yeah, I'll happily go next, Stephen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Do you want to pick your numbers, yeah?
Any random? Just hit me with any random questions. Oh god.
Okay. So these are based on Everton.
Sound.
Okay, here we go. Connor Cody made his England debut in September 2020 against which team? Was it A, Iceland, B, Sweden, or C, Denmark?
September 2020.
Yeah, September 2020.
Okay,
Yeah.
so September 2020 would have been Iceland, Sweden, or Denmark. Oh, was it the... Oh. No, it wasn't the Iceland trip where Phil Foden got in trouble. Or was it? My knowledge of England internationals is not great. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Iceland, but it's a pure guess because I know we've played Iceland in a qualifier at some point, or a Nations League game.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was Denmark.
All right.
Unlucky, Jim. Unlucky.
It's all right.
Okay, right.
He was a Wolves
okay,
player
the next
anyway.
question. How many goals did Gary Lineker score for Everton in the 1985-86 season in 57 games? He didn't have a rest. He nearly played the whole season. Was it A, 30, B, 35, or C, 40?
I'm going to go 30.
It's 40, I believe.
Oh, scored 40.
Crikey, that's a good going.
And we didn't win anything. Oh. And in my head, I always thought he got 30, but fair enough. Fair play, Lineker.
I'll just check.
No, you're probably right.
No, yeah, that sounds about right.
Could have been 30 league goals, don't know. But no, fair enough. 40 goals,
Okay.
that's impressive.
Well, this is a tough one for you. You can have a tough one or an easy question there. I'll give you an easy one. You'll probably get this one.
I've got two wrong, so give us a tough one, might as well.
Okay. Big Dunk
Mm-hmm.
was sent off how many times in the Premier League? I can give you an A, B, and a C on that one if you wish as well.
Let me just go back into the archives in my mind. I've seen him sent off live a few times, so it probably wasn't as many as we thought. Oh, I'm gonna go. You're all gesturing. I'm gonna go. Oh no, I'm gonna go 8.
I'm guessing.
Eight,
I have no
eight
idea.
comes to mind. I'm sure he's level with Vieira for the most red cards, which I think is 8, but I could be wrong.
Yep, correct.
Well, that was a guess. That was a complete guess. That's why I did the hand gesture, because I had no idea. That was a guess. We didn't have to go with that, but fair
It was
play.
8 with Vieira, yeah.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah,
Fair play to him.
30 goals, Gary Lineker.
30 goals. Wow.
Yeah, I forgot to put my circle around the answer. I think you said 30, didn't you? You said 30.
I
Did
did
you say
say
30,
30, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right. We'll go on. You can. I'll give you another one here. Can you name the last 5 bosses, not including interim managers, for Everton?
So that's about 6 months worth. So, including the current manager Sean Dyche, Frank Lampard,
Okay.
Rafa Benitez,
Yeah.
Carlo Ancelotti,
Yeah.
Marco Silva.
Yep. Correct. Okay.
And we had David Unsworth as interim, I think. But
Okay. Which manager bought Neville Southall to Everton in 1981?
81, that was from Barry. Shout out to Barry. Now, was this manager in the job? I knew he was under fire around 82, 83, nearly got sacked and then ended up doing really well. Won the league. I'm going to go Howard Kendall.
Correct. I think that's your 5, and you got 4. So you're on a tie here so far.
Superb.
Fantastic.
You got to keep it up now, Deck. You got to keep it up, Deck.
Yeah, you got to get at least 4 out of 5, mate.
Go on, Deck.
Go on, hit me with it. Is it 10 questions? So I'll go for the even one. So 2, 4, 6, and so on.
Okay. 2, 4.
That's
Let me
okay.
just write these down.
Just to be awkward.
6, 8. Oh no, 10's on the other bit of paper now. Right, here we go. Right, first question.
Go with any other one then. I'm bound
No, that's
to
fine.
get it
I've
wrong.
got it. That's fine. Can you name the last 5 Tranmere bosses, excluding interim bosses?
Okay, so Mickey Mellon, Keith
Yeah.
Hill, Mickey Mellon again, but obviously that wouldn't count. Mike Jackson.
Yeah.
Trying to think before him. Gonna go with Mickey Adams and Rob Edwards. I've missed someone out there. God. I can't think.
Jimmy's doing some sort of charades. I don't know what kind of charades Jimmy's doing there.
So I've got Mickey Mellon. That would be right. Then Mike Jackson and Keith Hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mickey Adams. Oh, and Gary Brabham.
Correct.
There we go. An excellent scout, but a crap manager.
There you go. That sounds like
For
a...
context, I was trying to gesture that he kept looking at the floor whenever Rovers went one down to find tactical
Yeah,
inspiration.
most of our managers do that.
Didn't help them.
In hope of inspiration,
Okay,
is that
next
Deck, you
He'd
think?
stare at the dugout for inspiration.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Okay, next question. I'll
The
go with
next
that one.
question. John Barnes managed Tranmere Rovers in 2009
Yeah.
for a few months only. Which other team did he manage from July 1999 to February 2000?
Celtic,
Correct.
I think. Yeah, he was equally as trapped there, I think.
Right. Here we go with the next one. You'll like this one. One of my ex-strikers. James Norwood has had a successful spell with Tranmere, scoring 93 goals in 180 games. But which 2 clubs has he played for since leaving Tranmere in 2019?
Ipswich and Barnsley.
Correct.
And he
Okay.
highlighted the sporting weekend, relegated Forest Green with a top-notch Norwood-esque goal, celebrating in front of their fans. Outstanding.
Sent you the video from his Instagram, didn't I? It was proper. He loves it against
Yeah.
Forest Green, doesn't he?
Brilliant. Right, I've only got to get one out of the next 2.
Okay.
No pressure.
Well, I've got to make it a bit more. I'll make this one a bit more of a harder question for you. Then it could go down to a tie break if you get the last one wrong. Okay. This is a who am I question. Yeah. Who am I? I played for Clyde, Chelsea, Everton, Tranmere, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, and Scotland 28 times, scoring 5 goals from midfield. Who am I?
I'm going to go with Pat Nevin.
Correct. So,
I'm hoping.
right.
Yay! Fantastic, Deck.
The tension builds. One more question to go.
Pressure.
Tranmere lost.
Go on, Deck.
Tranmere lost to which club in the League Cup final in 2000?
Leicester City.
Correct.
Has he
5
done
out
it?
of 5.
Oh, hey,
Outstanding.
Deck.
I'm going to give myself a clap there.
Do you know this trophy that we've had for a while? I'm going to have to try and send you this in the post.
I'll take that.
We've had a quiz trophy just lying here for months and months. I've just seen it.
Brilliant, Stephen. I really enjoyed that.
That was fantastic.
Brilliant.
That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Superb. Absolutely
Much
brilliant.
less obscure and much more to the point than our quizzes are. We normally go down what length was Enoch Shawomni's shoelace in the 2008 season?
I wondered where you were going to go with that question for a second then, but...
Yeah, good God, yeah. Dear me.
No, I enjoyed that, Stephen, yeah.
It beats my Jermaine Easter quiz of last episode.
That was quite interesting.
Well,
you had to name all the clubs that Jermaine Easter played for. That was
it was just random.
difficult. That was difficult.
It was a challenge, wasn't it?
It's good. It's funny.
I know.
It's funny.
Thank you very much, Stephen. That's brilliant.
Superb.
Greg, have you got a little quiz for us before we wrap up? Your famous
Yes.
quiz that you like to do?
Yeah, so it's just 2 questions and then we'll wrap up the podcast because I know we've nearly done an hour. So yeah, we'll just do these 2 questions, then we'll wrap up. So I've got a segment of the podcast which is called Dale or No Dale, and basically I'll name 3 players. 2 of them I've fabricated, aren't real players, and one of them is the real Rochdale player. So it's Dale or No Dale. So I'll just go through these 3 players. So this particular individual played for Rochdale for 2 years, 2003 until 2005. We'll go. I'll say the 3, and then I'll go Stephen, Deck, and then Jimmy. So I'll just name the 3 players basically, and you can pick one each. Or it doesn't matter if you pick the same one either. Okay, so Gary Taylor, Graham Evans, or Daryl Burgess? Who do you think is the real Rochdale player? So that's Graham Evans, Gary Taylor, or Daryl Burgess.
The one with the surname of Burgess.
Okie dokie, yeah. So Stephen's gone for Daryl Burgess. What do you reckon, Deck? We've got Graham Evans, Gary Taylor, or Daryl Burgess. Who's the real Rochdale player?
I'm going to go with Graham Evans, just in case he's some kind of distant relative of mine that I offend by saying he wasn't a professional footballer.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Superb. Jim, who do you reckon?
Relative of mine. Hope you're listening. Hope you're well.
I feel like Daryl Burgess is an amalgamation of 2 different ex-Rochdale player names somewhere.
Okay.
And I envisage Graham Evans to be a meaty centre-back to play for Rochdale. Not just
yes, this is your backstory of...
I try and give everyone a backstory and then decide who it is. I envisage Graham Evans to look a bit like Dak, only meatier. Clearly some distant uncle or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. I'm
meaty Declan Evans.
Anyway, let's.
That sounds like something he'd serve up at Cowshed Catering on a brioche bun.
It's just after the watershed, guys, so we're all right. So I'm going to go Graham Evans as well.
Rightio. Okay. So the real Rochdale player, Stephen's correct. It's Daryl Burgess. Daryl Burgess. I think he eventually played for West Brom as well, or before Rochdale. I think he played for West Brom as well, centre back. Yeah, okay, so Deck's 1-0 up. Sorry, not Deck, Stephen's 1-0 up. The next one, we've got one more. Dale or No Dale, 3 players. We'll do in the same order. We'll go Stephen, Declan, and then Jimmy. So, Neil Stamp, Wayne Murphy, or Rory Patterson?
Rory Patterson, I reckon.
Okie dokie. Stephen's gone for Patterson. What do you reckon, Declan?
Can you say
Neil
the first
Stamp?
2 again? Oh, go on. Neil Stamp, and who was the other one?
Wayne Murphy or Rory Patterson?
I'm going to go with Wayne Stamp. Just a shot in the dark.
That's a bit. Which one? That's you're hedging your bets there, mate. 2 out of 3.
You just amalgamated your own player there.
Yep.
You just took the first game with one and the last game with the other.
Has he got a double barrel? Is he Wayne Stamp? Wayne Stamp, whatever.
I'll go with the surname Stamp. Option A. Not A and B. Option A alone.
You're trying to go for 2 half points there, weren't you? It's right, okay. That made me laugh, that did. Right, Jim, who are you going for? Neil Stamp, Wayne Murphy, or Rory Patterson?
Right, can I ask what years?
You can go for more than one if you want.
I can make it. I can make it whatever I want. Clearly, that can. Can I ask what years this guy played for?
You can build your own player like Declan has. Say that again, sorry.
Can I ask which years he played for Rochdale?
Yes, I'm just going to have a quick look because I've got the... Right, where are we?
Okay.
2002 to 2004.
Okay, my peak years of Rochdale knowledge. So, Wayne Stamp. There was a Philip Stamp who played for Middlesbrough. And... Neil Stamp, sorry. Wayne Murphy sounds like he should be in WWE.
Okay.
And who was the third one?
Rory Patterson.
Rory Patterson does ring a bell. I don't know why. But no, I'm going to go Neil Stamp because I feel like I always go against my gut because my gut's always wrong. I'm going to go Neil Stamp.
Rightio. Okay, so the real Rochdale player is Rory Patterson. I think Stephen got that one, I think, didn't you? Is that?
Yeah.
Super.
Oh.
There we go.
Quizmaster has mastered the quiz.
He has mastered the quiz. He knows his
absolutely.
Rochdale.
There you go. Yeah, I've just googled where he played. Rory Patterson, Rochdale, Radcliffe Borough, FC United, Plymouth, Plymouth
Did he play for
Argyle.
Rochdale?
Never.
I'm surprised that there's only 2 out of the 6 that you've just named that have only, played for Rochdale, because it's normally 4 or 5 out of the 6 that have some kind of link.
Exactly. Yeah.
Isn't that the starting 11
So the
tonight?
6 one's driven past the ground.
Making up your own footballers is a strange one, but yeah, it's. I thought I'd have a go at that. Well done, Stephen. Stephen's got 2 out of 2 there. I think he beat Jimmy and Declan.
Perfect.
Super,
We'll have to share the trophy.
After
We'll send half in the post.
yeah.
Greg, do you know Lucy Ford?
Lucy Ford. That rings a bell.
From Her Game.
Is a
Her Game?
Yes. I think we've got her on Twitter. Yeah, we've got her on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was doing a podcast on another podcast in the Northeast, she comes on the Christmas quiz every year, what we do.
Oh, brill. Super.
Yeah, as a guest and does the quiz, yeah. She's
I'll have to
a Rochdale
find.
supporter.
Yeah. Is she? Right, Lucy Ford.
Yeah.
Is it Lucy Ford? Right. I must be getting my wires crossed. I know of a Lucy Ford. There is one that does the Her Game 2 for Rochdale as well, called Charlotte Cromarty. There's another one, another Rochdale Her Game 2. I'll have a look for it. It rings a bell. I know one of them. I know there's a few of them.
Yeah, Charlotte does the Rochdale one, and Lucy does the Bristol Rovers one.
That's it. That's where I'm getting my wires crossed. We've got them both. I know Charlotte Cromarty. Yeah, I used to sit with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'll have to dig out those episodes. If you can ping them over to us, I'll have a listen. That'd be good. I think Charlotte does her own thing. I think she used to do. What's the podcast called? Is it Absolutely Football? Or it sounds like Absolutely Football. I think she's with them at the moment, but she seems to jump to different ones. But yeah, she's a good one. Yeah, she used to sit in Pearl Street stand with her dad, and me and my dad used to. Yeah, she's good. I'm gonna have to listen to a few of her stuff, a few of her podcasts now. Superb.
Excellent stuff. Well,
over to you, Jim.
Thank you all very, very much tonight, gents. Thank you very, very much, Stephen, for your time tonight. Just a reminder where we can find your book again. We will obviously post the link out with the description.
Yeah, it's currently on eBay at the moment, and you can get it from Waterstones in the Suffolk area and Ipswich. But like I say, if you come through by myself, then I can obviously get some copies sent out to people if they need any copies. But yeah, it's mainly on eBay at the moment.
Brilliant, fantastic. And that book, of course, is Footy for Brains. It's only a game. Of course, we are part of the Sports Social Network, so we thank you very, very much for our usage there. And thank you very much for listening so far to this listener. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care. Thank you.
Good night all.